Wake up!
Chat?
Get up! We gotta film Animal Crossing New Leaf! Come on, we gotta film New Leaf! Come on! Oh my gosh! Motherfucker, get up! Come on! We gotta do it! We're doing an Animal Crossing New Leaf episode, motherfucker!
Animal Crossing New Leaf is the pinnacle of the Animal Crossing series, in my humble opinion. Even though the latest entry in the series, New Horizons, introduces a hearty helping of new features and mechanics such as crafting, placing furniture wherever you please, fucking up the local ecosystem, creating an official way to pave roads and walkways, I think New Leaf did a near-perfect job of maintaining what makes Animal Crossing so special in the first place, at least for me personally. New Horizons is an excellent game, don't get me wrong. I've already had my one-night stand with this game, like most people did at the start of the pandemic. But after my time with the game, two things have been lingering with me. One, this raging case of chlamydia I can't seem to shake, but also, what is it that made me have more fun with New Leaf than New Horizons? That is what we are talking about today. What made Animal Crossing New Leaf peak Animal Crossing? Now at this point you're probably thinking, Aaron, New Leaf was your first Animal Crossing game, right? You only think it's the best because of nostalgia. Correct. Throughout this episode, you might hear me frequently comparing New Leaf to New Horizons. This episode isn't supposed to be a New Leaf versus New Horizons type thing, I just think it's necessary to bring the game up since so many people say it's the best in the series. And they're probably right. With all that garbage out of the way, let's create our town and talk about the pinnacle of Animal Crossing. Animal Crossing New Leaf.
This is great. Just two bros making a town in Animal Crossing together. And to think you had me tied up in your basement just a few weeks ago.
Listen, man, we all make mistakes.
And now you're like Aaron's Game Hub's biggest fan.
Well, I don't know about that. Let's just get back to the game.
Alright, our town needs a name.
Wait. Your 3DS doesn't have a capture card. How are you getting background footage for this?
Oh, don't worry. I found a perfectly legal way of capturing footage for the episode.
Oh, thank God.
Anyways, back to naming our town. Any suggestions?
Well, video games are supposed to be a place where our wildest fantasies come to life. Why don't we name it something that we've never done before?
Welcome to Sex City. The local residents are in desperate need of guidance, and I'm here to aid them. Now you may be wondering about my appearance. What's wrong with his eyes, you may be asking? Basically, character customization is based on your answer to the questions that our dear friend Rover asks us on the train. And because my dumbass said that I don't need a house and I'll probably be fine, I now look like I'm one heartbreak away from driving my car through an orphanage. Stepping outside the train station, we see 3 of our villagers and Isabelle awaiting the arrival of their new mayor, which they mistakenly believe is you. This leads you to accidentally slipping and falling into a position of power, and congratulations, you are now the mayor of Sex City. This is the main gimmick of New Leaf. In prior Animal Crossing games, you were simply the resident of the town. You didn't really have the power to customize anything but your own house. In New Leaf, customization leaks out into the town in the form of public works projects. This was a way of adding things like bridges, benches, and even new facilities to your town. Every now and then, a villager will approach you with a suggestion for a public works project, which will then add it to the roster of choices. Once you've decided on where you want it to go, this spastic little child appears and takes donations for the project. Other villagers will technically donate, but it is a very insignificant amount. It's basically up to you to fund the entire project. As the mayor, you also have the ability to set up one of 4 town ordinances. The Night Owl ordinance makes shops stay open later, and shops that are already open 24 hours a day will now be open 25 hours a day. It also forces residents to stay awake longer than they usually do. The Early Bird ordinance does the opposite. Shops will open up earlier and villagers will be forced to wake up earlier. These ordinances are great additions to the game because it allows the game's schedule to line up better with your personal life, since the game obviously runs in real time. For example, if nighttime is the only free time you have for video games, now you don't have to worry about shops being closed and villagers being asleep when you play. The other ordinances are the Bell Boom Ordinance, which inflates the economy, and the Beautiful Town Ordinance, which decreases the amount of weeds and keeps flowers from wilting. Usually I go with the Beautiful Town Ordinance because constantly having to worry about watering flowers can be a real pain in the dick. And that's all the new customization options brought to you by being the mayor. There are still returning town customization features like changing the town tune, which can be used to create an iconic melody for your town or punish villagers who don't abide by the Early Bird Ordinance. And then you can also change the town flag to something that truly embodies what your town is all about. Here at Sex City, we have the Holy Cross because sex wouldn't exist without God's graciousness. And that ends all the town customization options. This was definitely the biggest change that New Leaf brought to the table, but there were many of other things introduced in New Leaf. Next, we should find a place to live and settle into our new town as we explore more of New Leaf.
Man, Sex City's looking pretty crazy right now.
I know, right? That raccoon totally wants to f you.
I think that's just a real estate agent. I don't think he's...
Bro, how do you seduce him?
I don't think that's an option in this game.
What do you mean that's not an option in this game? He's clearly trying to...
Aaron Wildman, you're under arrest.
Now, f***head, we're trying to play Animal Crossing.
I'm sorry, what did you say?
Aw, shit. Is this about that time I ran into that orphanage with my 2007 gray Pontiac Grand Prix, brutally killing hundreds of innocent children and then driving away?
Wait, hold on. Did you say you're playing Animal Crossing?
Oh, yeah, we are.
Can you help us f*** a raccoon?
I love Animal Crossing!
Who doesn't?
I'm sorry, who are you?
The name's Officer Jim. I came here to arrest you for running a pirated version of the 3DS game on your computer so you could capture footage for a YouTube video? Because you didn't have a capture card?
Now, before you judge, have you seen the prices of 3DSs with capture cards on eBay?
Honestly, I don't really give a shit right now. I just want to play some Animal Crossing.
Alright, we're trying to find a spot for our house right now.
Dude, that raccoon totally wants to f you.
Now we gotta find a place to live. Past Animal Crossing games had you choose one of 4 vacant houses to move into, but this time around, the location of your house is totally up to you, so long as there's enough space to build it. Right now I'm trying to find a location to call my own, but this damn raccoon won't stop chasing me! This is Tom Nook, and he's here to help us build our home. Once you've decided on a location, you'll have your very own tent set up complete with a mailbox, oh ho ho ho. If you want to upgrade that tent to a house, you'll have to fork up 10,000 big ones to Tom Nook. As you keep paying off your debt, you'll have the ability to upgrade your house by expanding rooms or adding new rooms. The debt you will have to pay off increases with every upgrade until eventually you reach the final upgrade and have over 1,000,000 bells in debt, which you will never pay off because there's no point since you can't upgrade the house any further. But anyways, I got my tent set up. Now it's time to explore the town a bit. Let's make awkward small talk with some villagers. We take relationships very seriously here at Sex City, so let's see if we can establish some connections. Each villager in Animal Crossing can have one of 8 different personality types. The male villagers can be either cranky, jock, lazy, or the newly added smug, while female villagers can be either normal, peppy, snooty, or the newly added sisterly. Each of the 8 personality types has their own different dialogue. Talking to all of them makes me realize how much more interesting the villagers were to talk to prior to New Horizons. There's so much more variety in what they had to say. A lot of what the New Horizons villagers have to say can pretty much be boiled down to, "Oh, wonderful weather we're having today. I am sitting down right now. I'm hungry." The dialogue in New Leaf is way spicier, with stuff like, "I wish my face was on a bag of chips," and "Lol, Queen dead," and "Oh, my wife left with the girls because I wouldn't stop moaning. I can do this all day during sex." Not knowing what sort of crazy shit these guys are gonna spout off actually incentivizes me to just talk to them for no reason, and makes me feel an actual connection to the villagers. Another reason I like chatting with the villagers in New Leaf is because, unlike New Horizons, they will constantly be asking you to do favors for them. This might seem like an odd thing to praise, but I've always enjoyed this part of Animal Crossing. Getting asked to do dumb little side quests like fetching a certain type of fruit or delivering a package, or consoling someone in the aftermath of an obliterated marriage because you could not in fact do this all day is kind of fun. After carrying out these tasks, you'll be rewarded with some random items, and it's exciting because you never really know what you're gonna get. The reward you get doesn't always correlate to how hard the job was. For example, you might fetch an apple for a villager, and you'll get a flat screen TV in return. However, you might get jack shit for being a divorce counselor. But the wide spectrum of quality that you would get made it more interesting. Another thing the villagers might do is ask you to come over to their house or invite themselves to your house. Jay here is asking if I can come over as long as both our moms are okay with it. Usually the player can pick a specific time for you guys to visit, and I think it's so neat because the game runs in real time, so you have to actually visit at the time in real life that you selected. It also makes it kinda stressful though because you have to try and remember the time you set up. And if you miss your playdate, they blow a fucking fuse. "My mom was gonna make a DiGiorno's pizza, where were you?" This is another dumb little thing that was extremely rare in New Horizons, and it saddens me. Overall, the New Leaf villagers had some real depths to them, and it made it easier to make connections and strengthen the feeling of community here in Sex City. Villagers typically get slightly less interesting with each entry. For example, the first one on GameCube, or N64 in Japan, was notorious for having some pretty rude villagers, which I really like because it spices things up. From there, things simmered down just a bit with each passing entry until it really dropped off after New Leaf. I have absolutely no urge to talk to the villagers in New Horizons, which is a real shame.
Alright, I think we've talked to the villagers enough. What should we do next?
Don't we have to track down the person that killed our father figure with a golf club?
That's The Last of Us Part 2.
I think you have to take the ashes of your dead wife to the highest peak of the realm.
That's God of War.
Oh, I remember. You have to deal with the ramifications of your sexual activity with a 3-foot Chinook salmon because your girlfriend was.
Okay, what the f are you referencing?
Well, there isn't really a set goal in this game. You set your own objectives. You can play however you want. So why don't we just
Explore the town and see what we can do to occupy our time. Some of the staples of Animal Crossing have included fishing, bug catching, and digging for fossils. These mechanics have been mostly unchanged, with the only new additions really being more kinds of bugs and fish to catch. A completely new mechanic that was introduced was deep sea catches. Using the wetsuit that can be obtained on the island, which we'll talk about later, you can now swim in Animal Crossing. If you see a dark spot in the water, you can dive to catch a deep sea ocean dweller. It's a pretty cool addition. It's not groundbreaking or anything, but to have a new collectible in Animal Crossing is pretty neat. It was either this or adding a hunting mechanic, but that wouldn't mesh well in the world of Animal Crossing, obviously, because I'm pretty sure anteaters are endangered. I don't think you can actually hunt them. Filbert, on the other hand. Up near the top of our town is retail. The way you sell your items this time around is quite different. Instead of selling your items directly at shops, the game encourages you to sell at the recycling shop retail, as that's where you'll get the most bells. Retail is where you can sell your goods at full price, and while you can sell them at the Nookling store, you'll get around 20% less than what you normally get. I'm not entirely sure why they chose to do it like this, but it's not too much of a nuisance. Retail also allows you to sell your stuff directly to villagers through the flea market system. You set your items out in the store and you can sell it for whatever price you want, but if it's completely unreasonable, you're gonna have trouble selling it. Over here we have Reese's husband. I'd like to wake him up, but Reese seems to prefer her husband unconscious, and I'm not gonna question their relationship. I do really want to know what his purpose in the game is, so I'm thinking that maybe if I sell 100,000 bells worth of items, catalog 50 pieces of furniture, catalog 10 pieces of clothing, and play the game for 7 days, maybe he'll wake up. Turns out my theory worked! This is Cyrus, and he allows you to customize certain pieces of furniture. Also, the first thing he ever says to you after waking up is, "I better not catch you making goo-goo eyes at my wife or I'll make you see in the 4th dimension." So it's nice to know that all I have to do to become a 4th dimensional being is ogle some titties. On that note, let's check out the shopping district known as Main Street. Main Street is an idea carried on from City Folk and is where you'll find most of the game's shops. I really like this feature because it's a way of having more shops in the game without overstuffing the village area. While it would have been nice to have the big ones like Nook's Cranny and Able Sisters in the village area, and everything else on Main Street, overall, I prefer this way. Anyway, let's see what Main Street has to offer. Nook's Cranny is your one-stop shop for all general goods like tools and furniture. This shop can be upgraded and, unlike New Horizons, can be upgraded more than once, which is very neat. Each upgrade will bring more items available at one time, and it also brings in different kinds of items, such as wall-mounted decor for your home and music. Also, other stores will begin to merge with it after the 3rd upgrade, and the 5th iteration adds Gracie's Fashion Shop, which contains wildly overpriced items that I've only ever bought via a cheat device. Over here is the Garden Shop. Like I said, it eventually combines with the Nookling store, but before that, it exists as this quaint little shop run by this schmuck named Leaf. Only 4 items are available at first, but the selection will expand when it merges. In the meantime, we do at least get an axe, which is perfect. These trees were driving me crazy. I prefer to get my oxygen from this guy. Next to the garden shop is Able Sisters, a staple in the Animal Crossing series, as it was here since the very first game. Able Sisters is a clothing store run by Sable, Mabel, and Label. Above it is Shampoodle, a place you can go to change your face after meeting certain requirements. Yes, player customization isn't unlocked until later in the game, and yes, it did suck. Next to it is Kix, a tiny shoe store, and over here is the museum run by Blathers. You can donate fish, bugs, fossils, and art. The newly added deep sea creatures are counted as fish. After meeting certain requirements, you'll unlock the museum shop, which has some museum merch, customizable rooms that no one gave a shit about, and most importantly, upgraded tools that become available after donating a certain amount of stuff to the museum. The upgraded nets and fishing rod make it easier to catch stuff, and the shovel makes you more likely to get valuable gems from hitting rocks. On the other side of Main Street, we have the post office, perfect for sending spicy letters to your neighbors. Nook's Homes, your go-to place for home upgrades and renovation. Then there's Club LOL, the town's live venue. Bring Dr. Shrunk some food and he'll reward you with an emote. There's the Dream Suite, a place to visit a copy of other people's towns, and the Fortune Teller shop. There's so much to do on Main Street. Having so many different shops and facilities is one of my favorite parts of New Leaf. Well, Sex City's been fun so far, but I need a break. After the player upgrades their home for the first time, they gain the ability to sail off to a newly added tropical island. Captain's waiting for us at the dock. Pay him 1,000 bells and off we go. We then get this cutscene of Captain singing a sea shanty, but to skip it we can simply mash one of the buttons to tell him to shut the f*** up. and then we sit in awkward silence for the rest of the trip. Here is the tropical island. The genius of this addition to the game is that it's always summer. This solves an issue that has plagued Animal Crossing since the very first game, the lack of bug catching during winter. With New Leaf, you can catch bugs and fill out your museum all year long. You can also catch fish that are exclusive to summer, as well as catch creatures that are island exclusive. It's a very small island, but it's very helpful. The island also offers little mini-games called tours, which earn you medals, that can be spent at the island gift shop to get some sick island merch, and, if you're lucky, you'll find a wetsuit. And that's it. That's a summary of Animal Crossing New Leaf. I made a pretty bold statement in the beginning by saying that it's the best in the series.
Yeah, you're gonna have to explain yourself. A lot of people really like New Horizons.
I like New Horizons too. It's just New Leaf has more of what I want from an Animal Crossing game.
How can I have everything you want? This town is named Sex City, and I haven't seen a single titty thus far.
I thought it'd be funny.
It got old after like the 17th time you said it.
Okay, fair enough, but New Horizons is a fantastic game. It's just, there's something about New Leaf that's really special to me.
Is it because it's the one you grew up with?
Yep.
New Leaf will always hold a special place in my heart, being the game that introduced me to the series. There's a lot about the game that I loved that was either absent in New Horizons or was not done as well. I like that villagers have interesting things to say and ask you to do favors. I like that there's more shops and stuff to visit. I like that the Nookling store had more upgrades because upgrading their store was the most exciting part of New Leaf for me. I like having tools that don't break. And most of all, I like having all the content in the game on day one, instead of drip feeding us standard Animal Crossing features over the course of almost 2 years. I cannot stand the release a game unfinished then finish it later approach. With all that in consideration, New Horizons is one of my favorite games ever made. I just prefer this one. Animal Crossing New Leaf is my favorite entry in the series because it best showcases my favorite parts of Animal Crossing. Sure, New Horizons took the series to new heights with its incredible customization options, but it also neglected some of my personal favorite parts of the series. And that's all I have to say on this. Farewell, my friends.